momentos en que ya todo sale mal, te ilusionas por cosas que no son, y cuando cuenta de ello te das, sientes algo que no sabes explicar, dolor, tristeza y soledad. Se derrumban todos tus sueños ya en esos momentos de ansiedad. Necesitas de alguien y su amistad. Allí es cuando tienes que llorar. Allí es cuando pierdes el orgullo y tus fuerzas no pueden luchar más. Allí es cuando buscas al Señor y Él te espera con los brazos abiertos. Ay, qué lindo es tener a Dios junto a mí. Y cuando se vuelve al Señor, sientes algo muy lindo, no sé yo, algo que sube por los pies y que llega a lo más profundo de tu ser. Y después de tanto haber llorado, se queda el alma limpia, siéntelo. Es su perdón que te liberó. Toda cadena que te ataba, Él rompió. Allí es cuando tienes que llorar. Allí es cuando pierdes el orgullo y tus fuerzas no pueden luchar más. Allí es cuando buscas al Señor y Él te espera con los brazos abiertos. Allí es cuando buscas al Señor y Él te espera con los brazos abiertos. Ay, qué lindo es tener a Dios junto a mí. Cristo es la peña de Oreb que está brotando, agua de vida saludable para ti. Cristo es la peña de Oreb que está brotando, agua de vida saludable para ti. Ven a tomar la que es más dulce que la miel, refresca el alma, refresca todo tu ser. Él es la peña de Oreb que está brotando, agua de vida saludable para ti. Cristo es el lirio del valle de las flores, Él es la rosa blanca y pura de Sarón, Él es la vida y amor de los amores, Él es la eterna fuente de la salvación. Ven a tomar la que es más dulce que la miel, refresca el alma, refresca todo tu ser. Cristo es la peña de Oreb que está brotando, agua de vida saludable para ti. Tierra bendita y divina es la de Palestina, donde nació Jesús. Eres de las naciones cumbre, bañada de la lumbre que derramó su luz. Eres la historia.
We're talking with Jim Burris, who is the medical mission trip leader with the Frankfort United Methodist Church. This has been going on now annually since 2003, right, Jim? In Honduras. Tell us how it all got started.
We got started first by a trip to Roatan, which is an island off the coast of Honduras. Pastor Jack organized the trip, and while we were there, we looked across at the mainland and wondered if there were any Methodists on the mainland. When we came back, we looked into that and found out that yes, there had been recently organized a new initiative by the United Methodist Church. We also concurrently had a friend in Jimmy Bowden at the Del Campo School in Tegucigalpa who was a graduate of Kentucky State University. So we wanted to visit Jimmy and see how he and his wife and family were getting along. So we went to Tegucigalpa and we visited the Methodist churches that had just gotten started, and we also visited the Del Campo School, and Jimmy was our guide and our driver for our van. But one of the churches really stood out. The First United Church stood out because it was a very poor church, just getting started. And the congregation was very impressive because they said, we're going to meet and decide what you might do for us in response to your question about what can our church do to support your church. So they did that, and they came back with three things. And the first thing was, we need a medical team. We're all sick. So that's really, we came back and we, from that trip, and started organizing the first medical mission trip to Tegucigalpa. And that was our very beginning. And we learned a lot from that first trip. And then we just got more people and got more medicine and more training and more equipment. And so there, and we until today, which we now have about 35 people that go. I guess the impressive thing about our visit to the different churches and why First United Church impressed us was the neighborhoods on a hillside. And these people are extremely poor. I used to have this term this is really dirt poor. Well, that was a whole new definition for me when I saw how those people lived. in dirt, streets that turn to mud during the rainy season, and they live in these slab, pieces of trees where they've cut trees, and that's their walls, and then they've got rusty metal roofs that leak. Most of them got holes in them and no running water. Everything is an outhouse, very little yard space. So the people impressed me with their cleanliness, their intelligence, their love of God, but their poverty was extreme. We pick a time of year to go when it's dry. There are 2 dry seasons and 2 rainy seasons in Tegucigalpa. So we pick the dry season, which happens to occur in January and February. How has the mission progressed? We have grown to learn more about the people. The people's health has gotten better with our presence and the medicine we leave. Doctors that we have go there. It has grown by the fact that we've been able to understand the culture better, and more people want to go. God has really blessed us in this mission. The type of diseases seem to be, to me, and I'm not a doctor, so I have to explain this in my terms, fairly common in that they had high blood pressure, and they're diabetic. Many are overweight because of the type of food that they have. Respiratory problems are real big because the women cook on open flame, and then there's the deformities of perhaps tumors and the usual need for OBGYN care. A real interesting thing was when we first went there, everybody had parasites. The water was so bad. So the doctor said, well, we could take a big truck of medicine and we could give everybody in this community a dose of parasite medicine, but in 6 months, all the parasites would be back. So one of the things we started to work on was, how do we get clean water in this neighborhood? Out of that came another organization called Water with Blessings, and that grew out of the need to find a way to have clean water in the neighborhood, and it's about 75% covered as of this date. Well, how do they keep themselves clean is kind of amazing to me. I'm really not sure how they do that, but when they show up for church or they show up at the clinic, there's certainly no odor, what we sometimes call here the odor of poverty. There's no odor there. And the white on their shirts or blouses is white, and they're just clean, and I don't know how they do it, but that's remarkable. The impact the mission has had is to make this neighborhood far more healthier than they were when we started, and that was their goal, and that's what they asked us to help them do. How big is the neighborhood is a good question, because it's hard to really count the numbers, but we've always estimated that, just looking at maps and walking, used to when we could walk in the neighborhood, we've estimated around 25,000 people in that immediate area. We have people tell us we've walked since 2 or 3 o'clock this morning to get here by 8. So the radius of the news that we're there travels pretty far. This is Tegucigalpa is a major urban area, but the poor have very little resources. They have very little money. There's very high unemployment there. Probably more than half the people are unemployed. So it's hard to have any money. There is government health care, but the government health care lacks medicine. Often there's corruption, so often the medicine is stolen, or they don't have the money. The government, maybe something happened to the money. And then the doctors it's mandatory they go to the public hospitals, but they only have to work a few hours there. So there's very scarce resources. My good example of this was my very first medical trip. And remember, I'm an architect, so I was in shock with this. Dr. Kenner said, who's an OBGYN, she said, this lady needs to get to the hospital to have a C-section. Can you find a way to get her there? So I started working on that, trying to get this young lady to the hospital. But when the lady found out or understood what I was doing, she said for me to stop, that she would rather go home and die than she would go to the hospital. We've had to change locations in this past year. This neighborhood that we worked in for, I guess, 13 years has become so dangerous that we're unable to go there in any kind of safety, which started last year when we had to have police protection to be able to come and go. So it's unbelievable how these people must live in this kind of criminal element, and they're so poor when even now they're taking their houses from them by gunpoint. So we can no longer serve that area just simply because we can't protect ourselves from murder and from robbery. So we have gone to another town on the outskirts of the city, just about another half an hour out from the perimeter of the city, to a nice town where there's a police academy there. So we're well protected at Tamra. And there we saw almost 600 more patients than we normally see. So the facilities are good, the people are wonderful there, but our hearts are still broken because we can't serve the people we originally started with. Well, how has the mission impacted me personally is it's brought me great joy. It has brought me closer to Jesus. I think I know more about what He wants us to do, and it has just simply broadened I guess my deep understanding of why God sent Jesus in the first place. In the future, I think it's exciting in the future because we are getting more and more technology to help with the diagnostic work of what's wrong with the patients, and we're able to process more patients through, and I think the doctor's work can be more accurate. And I think education, we're going to be able to teach the local people some of the skills, some of the medical skills for them to do diagnostic work and be able to have a healthier population because of education and technology. So I think the future is really exciting, and it's going to improve the health of the people that we're serving.